Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the TCA Crossroads podcast, the podcast where entrepreneurs and investors connect. My name is Costin Tukulescu. I am an angel investor with TCA Orange County and an entrepreneur. And I am joined today by David Friedman, my co-host here, who's the chairman of TCA. David, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Costin. All good. Looking forward to this. Exciting day.
We got a really exciting episode, and but it's been a kind of an interesting week. David, didn't we just drop some news? Didn't TCA have some numbers to announce?
Well, last week we went to the Angel Capital Association meeting out in Las Vegas. Great meeting, by the way. And we dropped our annual report. We do this every year, and it shows all the deals that we invested in. And the good news is we had 13 deals that were positive exits. That's the highest number we've had in a long time. And of course, we had dropped the first episode of our TCA Connect Crossroads podcast yesterday, and we'll do this every week from now on. So it's exciting times.
Yeah. So just for full transparency, we're recording these on Fridays, but we drop them on Wednesdays. So I'm going to be thinking about that when I'm talking about Happy Friday in the future. This is only the third one. We're still getting the gears going. Cool. So 13 exits. That's phenomenal. And David, how much actual cash dollars did TCA invest last year?
Yeah. So we had 41 companies. We invested nearly $16 million, which is pretty good. I mean, we're still on the average of about $400,000 in investment. It's been pretty consistent over the time, and about 40% or so were in life sciences. Then we had the normal SaaS, IoT, crypto, MarTech, EdTech, FinTech, very diversified portfolio.
Yeah, and just so everybody sees that I'm wearing my SaaSter t-shirt today. This is a great conference that Jason Lemkin has usually in the Bay Area every year. Great conference. I'm a big SaaS guy, so I love hearing that we're investing in SaaS. $16 million, that's a huge amount of money from an angel group. People are thinking angels might be small checks, but it all adds up. And like you said, $400,000 on average per company. That's fantastic. All right, David, we have a great guest today. Who is it, and what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, and I'm extremely excited about this. This is Lori Torres. Lori is the founder and was CEO of a company called Parcel Pending. We'll have her introduce herself. But I met Lori about 6 years ago, and immediately everyone said, wow, what a sharp, smart person, we should invest. And she'll tell the great story of how she built the company to a successful exit. We'll get into those in a couple of seconds. So what I'd like to do, without further ado, is bring on Lori.
Hey there, guys.
Hey,
Thanks.
Lori, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today. Glad to be here.
Oh, it's so good to see you after, I see you all the time in the Orange County startup ecosystem. And do me a favor, just to the audience, introduce yourself, your background. Then I want to get into how you came up with the idea of Parcel Pending and talk about how you grew it.
Sure. So I'm Lori Torres. I am the founder, and I was the CEO of Parcel Pending. I have since left after the exit, but I was in the multifamily apartment industry for many years, running apartments for the Irvine Company, when I found this huge growing problem around packages, and people were shopping online. Off to work they would go, and all these packages came into the management office and inundated the staff. So I thought, hey, there's got to be a way to use technology and come up with a solution. And so that's where Parcel Pending came from. And Parcel Pending grew really fast. We had thank goodness, we raised funds early on and had a really successful raise with TCA. It was kind of, I think we were the poster child for TCA, as we, from pre-screen to money in our bank was a 7-week process. It was kind of unheard of for that to happen. And then grew the company 70% every year for 4.5 years straight. And then someone came knocking at our door. We sold the company, and also had a very fast sale for a 32-day transaction, which was insane. But everything we did was really fast, including me talking fast. So my apologies. But it's just...
Let me peel back the onion to get everybody up to...
That's That's the whole podcast. Thank you, Lori. We just went through the entire story of your company. Great.
We'll expand that. We'll go on slow motion from now on. But in all seriousness, I mean, it sounds so easy, but it was really hard. So tell me at the beginning, how did you put together your team to be able to execute the plan?
Sure. So, I bootstrapped my way in the beginning. And let me tell you, there was never a single easy day. I used to tell the team, like, where's the easy button? I can't find it. It's just so dang hard. And so I bootstrapped my way until I was ready to bring on some folks. I outsourced my IT, my technology, to build the technology for the lockers. And I did a lot on my own until I was at the point where it was time to bring some folks on. I brought early stage people, I didn't have any budget. So I brought some people on. And then as we grew, I was able to start bringing on an executive team and then a big player that was a big sales dog that I was able to bring on. And then we really grew the company because when I sold it, we had over 150 employees.
Yeah. So
I have a question. Hold on, David.
Hit me.
Yeah. So, it sounded like you just got going and then things just started taking off. And of course, it's difficult. Can you talk about that period in your life where you still had the full-time job, you're probably making decent money, then you saw this opportunity, and you're like, how do I transition from a safe full-time job here into becoming a full-time startup person, and all of it? How did that work, and how did you manage it?
Yeah, it's such an important question, actually, for people to hear this, because people have fear around, how can I possibly leave my job? I was actually a fancy executive and I was making really good money at the Irvine company. And people thought I was insane. Who quits their executive job to go start a company? But, I just knew in my bones I had something. And keep in mind, I was 30 years corporate America. I had never been an entrepreneur. I'd never raised a dollar. I'd never started a company, nothing. But I just knew in my bones I had something. And there was a really big need for this problem that I was seeing. And so I made that.
I hear those. I know you made a lot of money in the exit, but the termites you have to cure somehow. I mean, I hear them knocking on the doors outside.
So of all days for us to do a live podcast, I have construction going on in my home, and there's some construction that's doing some pounding. Of course, it hasn't been pounding all day today, but now that you're on the line, but this is so perfect because this is what happens when you're starting a company. Nothing goes the way you want it to go. Things happen out of control. You can't control, and you go, hey, just find the solution or keep going. And so often you just have to keep going. So yes, you're going to hear some pounding and some banging. Sorry.
I thought maybe it was entrepreneurs knocking on your door for some like angel investment or something. No. So you have this in your phones. Did you have a specific thing that you're like, I gotta do this? What was that one thing that was like, I gotta jump in? This is a huge opportunity. What was the signal?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was. There was, many of you probably know about the elf on the shelf, the little guy that comes out at Christmas time and flies all around. I had that idea 30 years ago. And then someone brought it out. And then, as you know, there's the Macy's Day Parade balloon of the elf on the shelf. And that could have been mine. And so when I saw this problem around packages, and I thought, gosh, I think I can solve it for the Irvine company with technology. There needs to be some way that we can, not have increased headcount, not keep growing expenses, but use technology to manage all these packages and put your package into an electronic locker. I just knew I had to go after it. And so that's
why didn't the Irvine company say, that's a great idea. Why don't you do it on behalf of us and we'll put it into all of our multi-tenant buildings? Why did you have to start your own company and leave Irvine?
Yeah, when I started, it started off to be a solution for Irvine company. And then I realized, I have something bigger. I can do this for the industry, for universities, for so much more. And our Irvine company isn't the type of company that it will invest in a company internally. We didn't have, any type of M&A or acquisitions in real estate. And so it just wasn't in their wheelhouse. And when I realized I had something bigger, I decided it was time to leave. And that, by the way, was such a tough decision. My family didn't support it. My friends thought I was crazy. Everyone at work thought I was crazy. On my executive team, they all thought, you just don't do that. And so I have to say, you have to bite the bullet and take some risks. And it was incredibly risky. But what was the worst thing that would happen? I'd go get a job. And I knew that I could get a job, that I had enough experience that I could get a job.
And the thing I want to outline for the entrepreneurs that are listening here, you really saw the problem. You saw a problem that was happening every single day, and it was a struggle. And that's why you went out and built a solution that you built and built a company. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they're kind of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could just like record videos with my glasses or something like that, right? Like, so I think solving the real problem was probably the thing that gave you a lot of confidence in this. So that's great.
I'm a big believer in that. I would never come up with some cool product. I'm a solution finder. And so all I do is find solutions to problems that come up. Just like today, there's pounding going on and we're going to make this work. And so, that's my nature. So I won't be that cool, creative person. I'll be the
coolest products are the ones that solve the problem. So,
but I have a question, because when you presented this to TCA, we knew that Amazon Locker was also out there. How did you compete against people like Amazon Locker, this big behemoth that had all these resources?
Well, so first off, Amazon hadn't really gotten big in the locker space. So Amazon come up with a few lockers. They were trying to put them into some apartment buildings, but they were only for Amazon. They were not courier agnostic. And they expected the owner and landlord to allow people in the neighborhood to use the lockers. And landlords, no way, we're not letting you into our building. We're gated communities, typically we're secure. So really, Amazon wasn't a threat until about 3 years in, when they decided to become courier agnostic, and their lockers were 40% less than ours. And that was a very hairy weekend, to say the least. We'll say that.
What did you do? What did you do? Did you just reduce your price, or did you focus on better benefits, add services?
It was actually, it was a turning point for Parcel Pending. And so, at first we had a meltdown and we thought, not really, but we really was like, okay, what are we going to do? Oh my God, Amazon. And then you come up with a solution. And so what they did was they went to all of the large multifamily companies, and they got the attention of the executives, because that was sexy, because Amazon was calling them. So they'd answer their phones and Amazon would say, we want to meet with you. And that was sexy. And, because we're used to just dealing with toilets and refrigerators and carpet and hardwood flooring, and that's about it. And so with Amazon, we knew they were turning the market for us to say, hey, landlords, if you put in 50 systems, 100 systems at all of your properties, we'll give you this deal. So we decided we'll do that. We'll go in and we'll take a handful of companies. We'll offer them these smoking deals. We actually called them nuclear deals. And we will get aggressive. But we also kept selling who we were. We came from the industry. We knew what it was like to be on site. We knew what the challenges were. We knew what residents wanted, and Amazon didn't know any of that, and Amazon didn't have the service. So we sold the heck out of our service and the experience, but we did give some of those nuclear deals, but we didn't give a lot of them. And it was amazing. We were able to compete, and, we competed all the way to the end. They still compete today with Amazon.
Okay. Another quick question for you. The TCA, from what I recall, had taken the entire round. In fact, I think we oversubscribed the early round. Is that
not exactly? No, because I raised $1.35 million, and TCA I think had about 700,000. So you did have much higher than you typically do, than your average. But we had some folks, a few other groups that just came in, but it was under TCA terms. And
so the question that I have is, how did you use TCA and the experts that TCA had, or was it just using TCA for the money? In other words, did you leverage any of the expertise within TCA, any of the people within TCA?
So, David, you know the answer here. I used you. I used a lot of people. And so I had ended up, TCA wanted 2 board members to be on the board. And I was able to kind of select who I wanted. And one, I had some amazing people help me. And TCA members really stepped up. I put together an advisory marketing board. And
I remember that with Ray Chan. Yeah,
exactly. And then with the board members, and then I just felt like I could reach out. So I would call you, or I would call Hans. I would call someone and say, hey, I need help with manufacturing. And they put me in touch with someone else from TCA. I need help with this. They'd put me in touch. So the thing about entrepreneurs is they often don't ask for help. And I found the more I asked for help, the more I got and the more successful I was. I mean, it was so amazing the amount of help I got during the entire journey at Parcel Pending.
I'm going to turn this over to Costin as a former entrepreneur. You can resonate with that one, right?
Yeah, and I just have so many questions. Obviously the goal of this podcast is to help entrepreneurs build their companies and to help angels figure out how to invest really well and all of that. But my background being more entrepreneurial, I lean into that area. So would you mind giving our listeners and viewers some advice on how you did your fundraise? How did you structure your fundraise? How did you come up with the right terms where you attracted, these oversubscribed rounds? Like, give us your fundraising strategy.
Okay, first I need you to know I was young and dumb. And I don't mean young in age, but young in experience. I had no experience. We used to joke, if we needed money at the Irvine Company, we would just go to the basement and get some money out to build an apartment building. So I had zero experience raising money. I started off with Don Castle, who was at the time a part of, SBDC, but he was at the time part of TriTech. And he and that team coached me and gave me a ton of guidance. I could ask them about anything, and they helped me with my deck and helped me with my presentation so that I was ready to go talk to TCA, because you really need to be prepared. Your presentation has to be awesome. You have to get people in the first, 30 seconds. They need to know what your business is, and then they have to fall in love with you, quite candidly. So it's kind of like a dating. You got to date, and they got to fall in love with you. And if they don't, then it's on to the next. And so, because that's, TCA sees a lot of deals.
And so that was like dating coaching almost. They were coaching you how to date. And I do want to add, those are 2 or 3 great organizations you named. There's also SCORE. There's Octane in this ecosystem. I just want to give a shout out to all of these great organizations and resources available to first-time founders who really need to figure out how to put together the deck and the pitch. So you went through that. You went...
well, let me tell you something. So to this day, I refer entrepreneurs to score.org all the time because they have the absolute best spreadsheets to use for building your forecast, for building your plan, your business plan. And I'm a huge advocate of that. I also worked with Octane a bit. So I had the experience with both. Go ahead.
Well, so excellent. So you went through this initial coaching that was available to you for free, I'm pretty sure. I believe that, or for free. And I had the same. I also met Don Castle through TriTech or SBDC. So great guys. And then what happened next? So then you got in front of the investors?
So then first you pitch your deck, you get in front of, you pre-screen. And I'll tell you the lesson in my pre-screen. So I had a pre-screen, and I had this gentleman sitting out there looking, and he was kind of giving me a little bit of a smile, not a lot of warm body, but enough that I knew he was interested. So afterwards, I asked someone else, I was like, who is that? And they said, oh, it's Hans. And I didn't know Hans at that point. So I got his phone number. I tracked him down and I called him and I said, Hans, you were at the presentation. Would you like to meet me over at the lockers at our prototype and actually see him? And so for any entrepreneur, you got to kind of take that extra step that you're not comfortable. Should I? Oh my gosh, do it. You got to take it. Had I not called Hans, I don't think I would have, who knows where it would have gone. But Hans was a huge advocate for me and Parcel Pending because he believed in me. But I caught him. I saw that he was interested, and I got him out to those lockers immediately.
Well, you also got Hans to join your board, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So that was a biggie.
He was a huge...
That comes later. Like, the thing to outline there for entrepreneurs is you almost use like a fifth sense to... You just notice that there was this person in the back that maybe had higher interest than the rest, and then you figured out exactly how to leverage that situation, which it's one of these maybe entrepreneurial superpowers that entrepreneurs have. You jumped right on it, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that entrepreneurs oftentimes, because I see a lot of pitches, and they're not reading the room, and they're not engaging people. And you gotta get people, they have to fall in love with you. They're going to give you their money. And that's a big thing. Their personal money. They're going to write a check.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So once Hans saw the prototypes and all of that, then what happened?
So then we went to the screening. And so screening was in Long Beach. It was in a, big fancy ballroom in Long Beach. And it was such a bummer because something happened. Someone didn't bring the note papers that TCA usually put out on all the tables. And there were probably 100, 150 people in that room. David, were you there?
I was not there.
You were not. So it was some San Diego folks, some Pasadena folks, and a lot of the Orange County folks. And so they forgot to put this paper that you're supposed to sign up if you were interested. So there's no sign-up paper. So I get up there, I pitch it. I hear, people were very interested, a lot of great questions, a lot of interaction. And then it was a little bit of crickets because we didn't have those sign-up sheets to know who was interested. So we had to the folks that I did know and that I was introduced to, and it really started with Don Castle, we had to dial for bucks and talk to people. Hey, you were there. What did you think? Hey, do you have any interest? Hey, do you want to set up a meeting? Hey, can I walk you through? What questions do you have? So you can't sit back, but you can't sit back as an entrepreneur ever. But even in the fundraising phase, you have to be forward, talking to people, nurturing it. Hey, do you know of anybody else that's interested in investing? Hey, can you refer me anywhere? And that's kind of what I did. I just went from person to person and had a, the web.
And just to dispel any myths and to make it very clear, there's one word that captures what it is. It's sales. And
100%.
It's sales, right? And also dating is sales. I think of dating, sales, fundraising, and trying to start a company. It's all one of the same.
That's right. And I was never a salesperson. I'd never sold a thing in my life. And then, you have to sell everything. You have to sell, I had to sell the lockers. I was the first salesperson.
Yeah. So you had your whole kind of list of who was there, but you didn't have a list of who was interested. So you just went down the list, contacting, emailing, did all of that. And how long before you closed the round?
Oh, so this was great. So I hopped on. So I missed this. I went from pre-screening. I missed the screening part. So I went screening, which was at Chapman, and then to the meeting. To the dinner. And so at screening, and when I went to Chapman, you go in, you get I can't remember the time. I think it was like 12-minute pitch or 8 minutes or something. You pitch it and then you leave. They give you zero feedback. So I hopped on a plane to China because I had to go find lockers. And I get this call while I'm in China in the middle of the night. And I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he was the president at the time of TCA. He calls me and he said, hey, something happened that we've never had happen before. 100% of the room said they would be interested in investing. Not that they will, but everyone had interest, 100% of the room. We've never seen this before. So now we're going to move you to screening, and screening is in a couple weeks. And so everything just moved so fast that I literally, from the pre-screen to our money in our bank, was a 7-week process, due diligence and everything. It was insane. And it was awesome.
Wow. And what traction did the company have at that point that you were walking into this with? Like, did you guys have any sales, any customers? Well, what did the team look like by the time you were pitching angels and taking checks?
We were still working out of my house in a little house, casita outside of the main house. And we had the prototype installed and we had 3 or 4 sales, but we had commitments from some clients and some larger property management companies that said we are very interested and that we would be willing to put you into all of our properties as we go forward. So there were some commitments that had been made.
Just a couple of questions because unfortunately we're going to run out of time, but 2 quick questions. Number one, what additional challenges did you have? How did you deal with them? And number 2, how did you find the eventual buyer? And what was the end result when you sold your company in terms of a multiple from the initial investment?
Okay. So what were the challenges? What additional challenges related to what?
To growing the business and to getting an exit.
Oh God, the list is so long. I have this book of all of my challenges and all of my mess ups. We'll use for a nice word for video.
What were the top 2 challenges?
I think the top 2 challenges, it was just never growing sales fast enough, and then growing our technology, because once we built the technology, you had to iterate and you had to then come up with new products. And I didn't realize that. I thought you just come to market and you have, one and done. Not so much. You have to be innovative. And I don't think I realized that as much. And so we had technology challenges that caused us a lot of grief, but there were a million other. We had a problem with our manufacturing in China. We had a lot of issues. It was hard, very, very hard.
So what was the end result? How'd you find your eventual acquirer?
They did. I didn't. They found me. And so here was the thing. Venture capital, private equity called and emailed me once or twice a week, sometimes more. And every time they notified me, I said, heads down, running with our hair on fire, call me in a year. Standard. It was like standard email. Head down, hair on fire, call me in a year. But this company out of France called or emailed and said, I sent the same email back. They said, no, we're serious. And it was Neopost. And Neopost was trying to get into the locker business. And in the United States, they were number 2 to Pitney Bowes in mail services. And they knew they had to make a shift over into a new market. And they said, no, we're serious. We have money to spend and we want to acquire a company in the United States. And I was like, look, you can come out and talk, but I'm really not that interested. And then I dragged my feet on even getting them an NDA because I thought we were 18 to 24 months out. And I had always planned for our exit, but we were just starting to interview bankers. We were just starting to find who our attorney was going to be. But we were 18 months out and we needed to get our house in order. We weren't ready for it. And then they came in and we met them on December 4th. Letter of intent on December 17th, closed by January 22nd. Oh, it was insane. And a full due diligence with EY doing the due diligence, the accounting side. So it was not mild or light. And the TCA members had a 20x exit. Not bad.
Yeah, I know. Heinz still kids me about not participating as much as I should. I was in it through the fund.
Yeah, what the heck is that about?
Sometimes you screw up, and this is one of my great screw ups. That's all I can say.
So before I let you off the hook, though, Lori, I still have a couple more entrepreneurial things here. Like, what made your company so attractive to this buyer, such that 24 months before you were even ready to sell, these guys wanted you guys so bad? What were the metrics that you achieved? What were the market conditions? This was obviously a frothy deal. Like, how did that happen?
I think what it was we had 70% year over year growth every year from the time we started the company every year. We were continuing to show that growth and those trends. And we built a business development team to go after other verticals. And we decided, let's go after grocery, retail, some other university in a very more focused way that we hadn't before. And we were starting to get some traction, and we had a lot of pilots in different retailers. And so I think they saw that there was this huge opportunity, and but also the multifamily space was a big opportunity. And like I said, they knew they had to get out of just mail services. They needed to get into something else, but that was adjacent to their business, which made sense with packages.
But as far as your business, 70% year over year growth, opportunities in adjacent markets that could drive even higher growth in the hands of a well-funded owner. That did it for them, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's right. And then, what I'll tell you? They were very happy with their investment. We ended up, during COVID, we closed a huge deal with Lowe's Home Improvement, and we ended up putting 1,750 locker systems in all of their 1,750 stores. And so it was like, I felt so good about that because they pay a lot for the company. And I kept saying, like, this retail's coming. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah. So what would be your 2 or 3 takeaways to the aspiring entrepreneur?
So the takeaways is, I guess that I already shared the first one, which is ask for help. You can't do this alone. And even though I started the company alone, I always say in my garage, because it was kind of next to the garage, you can't do it alone. So you got to ask for help. I'm a huge believer in having a plan. When I talk to entrepreneurs that say, oh yeah, I have it in my head, I'm like, no, how much money do you want to make? Like, I was clear how much I wanted to make each year with this company, how many sales we need, what was our expenses going to be, where were we going? I was crystal clear about it. And even though we didn't hit those numbers always, we hit the revenue numbers. We did not hit the expense numbers. I was way off, but have a plan. And I think the last one is, be open to seeing what else is out there as things come your way, and be willing to make a shift. And because then you can grow the business more and focus on sales. Yeah, you got to focus on sales.
Yeah, it's all top. Yeah, it's sales.
Yeah,
especially early on. Constance, you want to conclude before I conclude it?
I'm just playing with this cool new podcasting platform.
I'm looking at it. It's great. People are now able to see what we actually said.
Yeah, and for the audio-only listeners, we're doing little tickers on the screen, so you may want to watch it if you're just audio-only. For me, as an entrepreneur, Lori, you're a legend. You are, you're like the thing that everybody aspires to become. And by the way, I do want to apologize for calling you Tori like over and over again in all of our
emails. I don't know.
Tori spelling 90210.
I get it all the time. It's Lori Torres, and so people get Tori. I get Tori.
That's it. Lori Torres.
Tori Lores is what he was calling you, but
Exactly.
it's actually trainable, so it's okay. We finally figured it out. But I want to thank you very much for your participation today. I think these stories from the front line are really enlightening. As you pointed out, a lot of crossroads in terms of sales, operations. Continually, every day was a new challenge. You had to make, decisions. And as any entrepreneur has to go through these crossroads lead to opportunities. And those opportunities these crossroads that you faced, the opportunities that you were able to achieve and succeed at made you successful. And on behalf of Costin and I wish you the best in your next endeavor. Next time when you start up a new company, I will definitely invest. I'm not going to be stupid a second time around. And until next time, we hope you find this episode enlightening and the wisdom that Lori brought to the table would be useful for you. Till next time.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
Okay. Bye.